Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of the Working Mama podcast. I'm your host and fellow working mama, Carina O'Brien. And today we're talking about something that I've felt pretty deeply about lately, especially because I've been doing a bit of work travel and also trying to balance life and try and keep all the balls in the air. It's about how it takes a village to raise a child. It's a statement we've all heard before. But it also takes a village to raise a working mum. Because in reality, we're not meant to do this alone. But in today's world, we often feel like that we need to do it all. And this leads to burnout and exhaustion. Working mums are constantly carrying the mental load, as I have spoken about many times on this podcast. Studies still show, and it's been well reported, that women carry the bulk of the unpaid domestic and emotional labour. The juggle is real, as we often say, and it sure is relentless. A support system, as we also call to and refer to as a village, is what helps carry some of that load. But here's the problem. So many of us do not have one anymore. But if you're in this situation, please know that it is not your fault. It's a cultural shift that's been happening over many generations. So even if we just look back a couple of generations, even up maybe to 100 years, families used to live in multi generational homes or even in tight knit communities. You're often surrounded by grandparents, aunts, uncles, and cousins that were all living nearby, possibly in the same suburb or even in the same town, helping raise the children and supporting the household. You didn't need to schedule help, it was just part of life. But unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever way you want to look at it, in Western society, things have shifted drastically. Some families have moved away for study or work. Some of us have also raised children quite a distance from where we grew up. Grandparents are still working, or they may have also lived far away, or unfortunately, they may have passed away. Our neighbours sometimes also remain strangers, and we don't have the same village as neighbours as what we once do. Many people, I'm sure, don't even know what their neighbours' names are. And we also have this mentality and this mindset of independence is valued over interdependence. And through some of these factors, the organic village that many of our ancestors had has actually disappeared. Although, in contrast, many non Western cultures still hold on to their village model. Such as in African communities, parenting is often communal with extended families and neighbours playing active roles. In Asian cultures, we know, and I've also spoken to people in this podcast about how in the first 30 days after having a child, the woman is actually not really allowed to get out of bed and it's seen as this resting period. There's also multi generational homes. Grandparents are also heavily involved in the day to day care and also raising of children. Unfortunately, here in Australia, the US, and other similar cultures, the concept of the village is more symbolic than practical. And what does this mean? It leaves working mums, particularly, trying to do it all, often in silence, which is leading to burnout and exhaustion, as we all know. This really hit home for me recently while I've been traveling for work. And I'm actually recording this podcast from my hotel room in Munich, which I'm away overseas for a week. The mental load and the logistics before I left were a little bit emotional, but also there's probably a little bit of mum guilt as well in there. I created a schedule for both of my boys. I wrote down what's happening each day, made sure we were organizing pickups, care arrangements, particularly for days that I don't work. And also then my son might have something after school, making sure that there are activities that were done. We even had to provide food for my son's kinder because they were making a soup that day because it was near the end of term. There was a dress up and there's, sports trainings. My husband is also going out for dinner one night. So then my in-laws are coming over to then look after to both the boys. So it's also about mentally preparing myself the emotional load of being away. My husband said I didn't need to do it, but it was kind of me and, as I said earlier, my mum guilt that probably came into it as well. They also had a situation where my husband was going to be doing Auskick training and coaching for my eldest son. And so my youngest, he was essentially going to be roaming around. And I messaged three different women, like three of the mums who I knew were going to be there, if they could just keep an eye on him. And I knew that he was going to be fine, but it was also making sure that I had this village and almost just reassurance that, okay, if I'm not there, I know that he's going to be looked after. And I was also reflecting on going, I had to activate the village really intensely, particularly for this one situation. I just wanted to make sure that he was going to be okay. My husband's held down the fort. You know, we've had family helping, particularly with school pickups. Also, people in the village have been this week the after school care, the educators, even the teachers, childcare, both sets of parents. There's been quite a bit of activation of the village of going, we need some help. Can you please help us? Also, just a simple check in, even from friends, are you okay? Both to my children and my husband, but also back into me. And I have to say as well, when you're activating the village, it's really important as well to have colleagues that, you know, that are understanding the flexibility and the grace. My husband has been open with his workplace that he may need to leave because I'm traveling. So also the village then extends into our workplaces and also the colleagues that we have around us. I have unfortunately heard of one situation where someone who she travels, but her husband's employer actually told him, you might need to leave, you know, take an hour of annual leave because of your wife traveling, which you have to say, this is not a supportive village. So really in these moments, you're reminded that what the village looks like now, it's not definitely necessarily going to be generational or even if it's local, but I can tell you that it's still powerful because you also know that there's that emotional as well as physical support with it. And I can tell you, being overseas, it's a really big thing. Your village today might look completely different to someone else's. And you know what? It most likely will. And that's perfectly okay. There's no one size fits all. You do what's best for you and your family. And that's so important. So you can sit back and reflect of, okay, who might be in your village? And it's also a good time to also think about, well, who's in my village? Is it all working? Is it not? And also, who do you may need to include or actually start to seek out to help you in your village? Of course, number one in your village is probably going to be your partner, your husband, or a co-parent, grandparents and extended family, such as aunts and uncles, daycare, childcare, and also definitely after school educators if your children are at school or even before school educators, school teachers, and also the support staff. You might have a mother's group. I know my mother's group really get me through certain times, and they're my virtual, probably pretty much my emotional village as well. If you've also then got a WhatsApp, friends, particularly other working mums, they will get it. Also in the workplace, they will really help you. Also aligned with similar to your managers, having trusted neighbours, if that is possible, babysitters, nannies, or even au pairs, your workplace. Yes, even a supportive boss or even a HR team can be part of your village. They've got your back. They're going to support you. So a village isn't necessarily about how many people you have. It's about having people you can lean on and people who show up, people who also make life a little bit lighter, but also that you know that you can go for support. And ultimately, that's what you're needing at times. So I've talked about a village, but how do you build one? Particularly if you've moved away for work, you maybe don't have family nearby or don't have that availability, or you might even feel isolated. Also, as you're stepping into maybe a new community, I know of actually transitioning even into childcare, you're going to create then a new village, kinder, and then again with school. So there's different ways, and you've actually sometimes got to make that mental transition of, okay, it's a new experience, a new group of people. I need to create my new community. So here's a few ways and few ideas to help you during these journeys. Number one, it's about starting with vulnerability. Let people maybe know that you're in the trenches. You're that you're open to connections. You're starting that hello, how are you? The introductions, building those relationships. Don't look at your phone maybe if you're doing, the childcare pickup or something like that. If you're seeing a parent, particularly in your child's class, say hello, get to know them, be open to that connection as well. Say yes to help. Even if it's hard at first, let someone cook for you, accept the offer to help out. The more that you say yes, the more likely people are actually going to help you. The moment you say no, people will be like, right, she doesn't want my help. And it's most likely they won't offer again. Number 3, offer to help too. So if someone's offering you help, give it back. No doubt they're probably also seeking community just like you are and for that village. And also connection grows from helping out one another. So make sure it's not just one way, but it's actually two-way. Number 4 is around build relationships intentionally. As I said earlier, say hi to the childcare or the daycare teacher. Say hi to the kinder teacher. Start a conversation with someone at pickup. Maybe join a local parenting group, but build those relationships intentionally. I know recently I thought, oh, no one's going to, from my son's kinder may not be going to his school. Turns out there's actually quite a few children that most likely will be. So now I've been a lot more intentional of getting to know the parents because I thought these are relationships I potentially can have for the next 9 years. No doubt it will help me and my community. And then because I've got to know these parents, one of those mums was actually someone who I reached out to of when I was away and I needed support from the Auskick example I just gave before. So I was actually vulnerable, seeking help. She offered, and now I know that's actually going to help open that door and then create a connection. I just didn't do it for long term. I legitimately had that issue that I needed to know that she was like someone could look up or just keep an eye on my son. And number 5, it's also around using digital villages too. So yes, there's the physical face-to-face, but that's also where WhatsApp groups, online forums and things like that can come in. Another example, my son at school, I've created a WhatsApp group for our year level parents. I know there's different experiences around that, but I can tell you our experience has been really helpful of actually even just sometimes the questions that people may have, from a school perspective, also what the words are for the week for homework. It's been really helpful. So of actually then also having then that online community. A village doesn't necessarily appear overnight, but all those little connections, even those little hellos at say maybe drop off and pick up, can help you build those villages. So here's a few things I want to leave you with. Being a strong mum doesn't mean it doesn't mean doing it all alone. It means being strong enough to ask, to lean in, and to receive support. The village you build may look different to the one your grandmother, your mother, or even you had. It might be friends instead of family, paid help instead of relatives, or a virtual community that helps get you support and maybe more so than the person next door. But it's still valid, it's still powerful, and it still matters because a village is helping raise not only your children, but also you, and also being able to be a mum and also have a career. Today, so I just want you to reflect on who's already in your village, recognize them, also maybe thank them from time to time. Where can you also go to get maybe some help, but also are there gaps in your village that you may need some extra support on or that you want to create those connections? And how can you create the space to support another mum in return? It might even be as simple as, how are you? How are you going? Yep, we're all in this together. So thanks so much for tuning in for another episode of the Working Mama podcast. And this episode has resonated with you. I would really appreciate it if you could share it with someone in your village. Remind them that this episode is around or the Working Mama podcast is here to help. Because the more that we can support one another, that will ease the load because we're never meant to do this alone. So I really hope you have a great day and I look forward to speaking to you next time on the Working Mama podcast.